Hello there, and welcome to this video about this GW leak, apparently, this has all happened on Twitter. So I'm going to go through these claims. I don't think it's real, or whoever the individual is potentially slightly misinformed. Anyway, so apparently by Anonymous on the 8th of April 2024, so this Monday at around about 3 o'clock, somebody put this GW logo on stuff and then said all these things. So apparently all resins being phased out by 2025 to comply with new government rulings on non-recyclable plastics to avoid a bigger tax charges. I'll just quickly find the so this tax, I'm pretty sure that's right. I think it's this'll probably do it. It's calling. Oh, for God's sakes! Why? Like, you know, when you Google something and it does like a little snippet, and that's exactly it tells you. But then you look on the. It's not the product itself. Basically, that's what I'm getting to. Plastic packaging tax. So the plastic, non-recyclable plastics, the tax that is already in place applies to packaging, right? It doesn't actually apply to the product itself. It's the plastic packaging. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Increase to plastic packaging tax rates. It's packaging coverage of update to extended producer responsibility scheme. Wrapped out key UK waste packaging fees, plastic packaging tax. These are the coverage in the FT. Blah 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 blah. Reduced packaging. It's all about reducing the amount of plastic that's wasted, and so on and so forth. So October 2025. I'm pretty sure there's something coming in October 2025. Waste packaging fees are coming in 2025. Waste packaging fees. So essentially basically what I'm saying is waste packaging fees, plastic packaging tax, etc., etc. I know that was quite a boring section where you basically just watched me look at another screen and look for Google something or other, because I couldn't find the source that I found earlier when I was looking for this. Anyway, what's happening in 2025 is they're introducing waste packaging fee taxes. So there's a tax on, because at the moment, essentially, if you produce cardboard waste, you bundle it up in plastic, and then it goes off to a recycling centre, and then the plastic's cut off and da. So what they're saying is we want more plastic bales just naked going across the country. There's also a plastic packaging tax. Essentially, resin, that's not true. BCK has been moved to balance out the old world. I mean, no, that they were part of the old world at launch, right? And we know that it takes roughly, whoever prints and binds the books needs around about a year's lead time, at least, in order to I think 9 months is the lowest I've ever heard anybody say. But even if it's like 9 months, Beasts of Chaos were slated to be in the old world 9 months ago. and have more variety to avoid another Horus heresy where players still scream for Eldar or Orcs, which is nonsense because in the old world there's already elves and orcs. So I mean, they were planned for an AOS revamp at the start of 3rd edition, including Kragnos being the centerpiece, which was obviously scrapped. Kragnos, okay, I'll grant you that Kragnos being like a weird god of destruction always did feel a bit strange. It does feel like it should be something to. It looks like a Beast of Chaos style mini, and we did see the. But then again, I mean, the creative process at GW, as far as I understand it, is essentially the people making the models make the models, and then the rules writers make rules around the models, and then essentially it all gets packaged up and shipped out. So realistically, like Kragnos, somebody could have just made the sculpt for Kragnos, and then they go, "Oh, that's great, we're going to do that." And then the rules writers go, "Well, what is it?" And the model makers go, "Oh, it's cool though, isn't it?" And then that's how that happened. Kislev was scrapped because of the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. Okay. So the steppes, right? That Kislev is based in, right? That's essentially Ukraine. So it's essentially the border of Europe with Russia, a bit of Belarus, and the Ukraine are essentially what we'd think of as the steppes. All right, so Kislev, if you wanted to put it somewhere quasi-historically, it's probably in Ukraine, right? Ukraine is known for its gently rolling hillocks, which are full of wheat. And that's why your food prices, ladies and gentlemen, have been quite high, because the Russian invasion of Ukraine destabilised the wheat trade, and obviously wheat goes into tons of stuff. So that's why food prices have gone up. And again, this is just a silly thing. It doesn't make sense. They're already in GW's Book of Grudges for their recast fiefdoms, but the timing was just felt to be in poor taste. But they aren't scrapped forever, just shelved Will that dies down. Just so they've shelved Will and he will die down. Cathay, however, was never. You should always put a comma after the word. However, was never really happening. Araby might be. Now, again, this is dumb because they've said they're going to do Cathay. They've never said they're going to do Araby, right? Okay. Warcry is getting a revamp in 3rd Ed. It's close to Wartime Necromunda, and the whole cult in the 8 points idea is being retired. Starter boxes, Cities of Sigmar versus Skaven. I mean, so that could be true, because they have got rid of all the cults for now, we've seen these sorts of leaks before, right? And quite often there's bits that are right and bits that are wrong. So I think some of this is probably true, and whoever Anonymous is has gleaned some of these bits, but they've not really. And I think they're embellishing quite heavily on some areas, like Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Like, that is just such a, I mean, scrapping a faction that's based on essentially the Ukrainian people, I don't know. It just, we know that GW, publicly at least, have a public political leaning, and they are, how they want to present themselves is being centre left to left, is how they want the people, how they want the public to perceive of them. Whether they are or not is well, it's not really relevant because we'll never know. But that's how they want to be perceived. So they could have released Kislev as a celebration of Ukrainian folk stories and gone down that route, but they didn't. Cities of Sigmar versus Skaven being the Warcry thing, that would go to Mordheim. That that would feel very Mordheimy. So that would be that. I mean, if that happens, that would be so cool, and that would sell so many copies. Like I can't even. can't even begin to tell you how much a new Mordheim with men versus rat men that would fly off the shelves. The old world is underperforming against projections, but not massively. Now, this is another thing that's obviously categorical. I'm going to use a word that's apparently fine because it's been used on Channel 4 News, and the position has been clarified with Ofcom, and it's absolutely, which is the UK regulator of official of news outlets. But this claim is categorically bollocks because underperforming against. So, in order for this to be true, right, we have to assume that Games Workshop knew that they were going to sell out of every single product range. They knew that they were going to lose out massively to scalpers on eBay who would buy their products and then sell them on eBay for massively inflated prices. Just selling. So there's people selling stuff on eBay that they've literally just bought off GW, held on for a week, and then put on eBay for about twice the price. Like, that's happening right now. So you're telling me that Games Workshop deliberately lost out on tons of money by underproducing the model ranges? Really? Mostly attributed to lack of a big villain draw when Tomb Kings don't seem to be considered a villain in the grand scheme of things. A big villain draw? Like, I mean, it's good guys versus bad guys, and Bretonia versus Khemri is like one of those classic conflicts. They've gone for orcs versus dwarves. That's another classic conflict. Anyway, Skaven is a popular army among players, but with the intent of keeping the old world and AOS divided, the choice was made to give AOS the Skaven option for a notable Chaos release in 2024. And the old world will be seeing the return of vampire counts by 2025. By 2025, so that means by the end of this year we will have vampire counts back. I don't think they'll have finished releasing all the old world factions. Like, Orcs and Goblins were previewed in January. They've been released this weekend. So 3 months ago we got Orcs, and so 3 months ago we were told we were going to get Orcs and Goblins. Now we have them. Like, Dwarves were previewed a while ago, so maybe we'll have Dwarves by June. Maybe May, maybe June, something like that. We certainly won't get anything on the old world front in July because that's when AOS 4 is going to be launched. There's going to be a ton of promotional space dedicated to that around about then. So August, September will be when we'd likely see the next 2 factions in the old world. And then October, November, probably nothing. And then December, we might see another 2 factions from the old world. So, like, the launch schedule from everything in the old world looks like it's going to take 2 years just to get through everything that they've already announced. So that doesn't make any sense that we're going to be getting something that they've already said is a legacy faction when Soul Blight in 4th we're leaning further, expect a new Neferata. Like, I mean, I do expect a new Neferata model for Age of Sigmar. To be honest, the kit that they've got for the Mortarchs is, out of date pretty much. So yeah, Manfred, Neferata, and Archon. I expect all of those to be changing. New kits for AOS over the next edition of AOS, and maybe that Mortarch model gets retired to the old world, really. But we shall see. Warhammer Underworlds is ending production. Blah 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 blah. It was intended to be a gateway game, and competitive casual didn't succeed at either. Makes less profit than Warcry. I mean, again, not sure about any of that. Legion's Imperialis has massively underperformed. Some of the blame is placed on people expecting epic 40k and not purely wanting. Others blame the Watchmen. Like, if this is, and again, not a lot has seemingly been true so far, or quite a lot of it. I'm looking at this from the perspective of like, I advise businesses, like from a business logic perspective, not a lot of this makes sense, and from like a just generic outside perspective, it doesn't really make a lot. I mean, I know Games Workshop have a history of doing stuff that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Almost everything they do makes a tremendous amount of business sense. There's always a business reason for them to do what they're doing. So most of their decisions I understand from a business perspective, but I don't get it from a fan perspective. Like the evidence suggests that Games Workshop really don't care about their existing fans. They want new people into the hobby like all the time. So Warhammer Underworld's ending, like, it is a great starter box to get people into it. Like, it just doesn't make sense for them to get rid of it. Legionis Imperialis is something for veteran players, so, you know, of course it was never going to do very well. And the other thing was, it was so expensive. Like, if you're going to do something for veteran players, like, you need to make it a bit cheaper. Necromunda and Heresy both sell well. Yeah, they do, because they're good games. You know, well, they're fun games. Middle-earth, yeah, I mean, it's a fun game. It works quite well. It's quite stable. Like, people like it. Expect more than Stormcast to get a large range discontinuing. Post-lockdown Indomitus, people holding. Yeah, I never understood that with Space Marines, why they kept on with a lot of the old stuff. You know, yeah. For AOS, Dispossessed. Haven't Dispossessed already been retired? I thought they. Oh no, they haven't, have they? They're in the Cities of Sigmar book. I mean, so when they say like Dark Elves, Dispossessed, High Elves, Wood Elves, Outside Resin. I mean, these have already been cancelled, haven't they? I mean, there's no High Elves left. They've all gone. Like, this has already happened. Like, and this is why I think this is just made up, because like High Elves and Wood Elves that's already gone. Like, you can't prophesy something after it's happened. Oh, I see in the future that all the High Elf range will be closed down, and it's like, well, no, dude, it's already happened a few months ago. Like, where were you? Wood Elves, I don't know that any of them are still in the Cities of Sigmar book. I think the only thing that's in the Cities of Sigmar book is essentially some Dark Elf stuff and like maybe a bit of dwarves, I think. Sorry, Dispossessed. But yeah, others moved into other battle tomes such as Daughters of Cain. Some Dark Elves. Oh, so he's saying that some Dark Elves. I mean, you know, it's unconfirmed, but don't expect Fire Slayers to be around forever. Why not? Why not? I don't get that. 40k, Death Guard, AdMech. Death Guard have already lost some units. AdMech, Gene Stealers, Space Marines, Harlequins are gone completely. I get why, like the plastic, they're very, you know, there's very little plastic and they sell for a lot. Grey Knights are becoming a universal ally option for Imperial rather than standalone army with custodians intended to fill their former niche. I mean, I don't really know much about it. Whatever. Both major titles will see another attempt at Ever Chosen / Eye of Terror mini battle tomes codices intended for narrative. First to a battle tome, Codex, Imperial Agents. Right. I mean, this might be a thing because he's actually given names. So whoever Anonymous is has given names to this. This is part of the watchification. At the advice of shareholders and US consultants, smaller, faster games are more focused on ease of entry. Combat control and spear tips, a lot of spear heads, are intended to function like Magic: The Gathering, pre-constructed commander decks, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, the intent over time is fewer. I think you'll find grammatically. Players with 30,000 more players with 2,000 points in every army range. I mean, yeah, I guess. What's watchification? I've just googled watchification. It's given me 8. World of Tanks? Ification? I mean, like, I don't even know what watchification is. Like, very weird. I don't know what that is. At the advice of... Yeah, that's obviously a term that I'm not familiar with. Then we've got some... No, Chaos Dwarves aren't happening. They look too anti-Semitic for it to happen. And GW has a problem as it is with being seen as the Nazi company and won't touch them again, at least not in the... Why do they look too anti-Semitic? Like, I don't... Anti-Semitic. Well, I mean, I am descended from Jews, and so technically a Jew. So, although I'm an atheist, so I mean, the character of Albrecht in Wagner's Ring Circle. Well, Wagner was a composer. What's the hell's that got to do with anything? Jewish characters by Citadel Miniatures. There's an article here in Oldenhammer where there are some, like, I mean, yeah, but they're not anti-Semitic. Like, doing a model of a Jew isn't really, tremendously anti-Semitic. I mean, that's like saying doing a model of a British Empire soldier is anti-British. It's ridiculous. Dwarfs resemble Jews both culturally... I'll show you what I'm looking at. Are Chaos Dwarfs based on real-world culture? They believe they've been chosen by their god and all other races exist only to be enslaved and exploited for their... blah, 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 blah. Are they based on real-world culture? Like, no, Arthurian-based history sort of... mythologies came from somewhere. Yeah, they do. Yeah, normally somebody's imagination based on an element of truth. Yeah, I mean, I don't... There's a conspiracy out there of people who think they are... The Chorfs are some... Let's have a look in. Let's dive into Reddit. Blah, 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 blah. They have their private Mordor, blah, blah, blah. Anti... There's a conspiracy out there of people who think the Chorfs are some deliberate anti-Semitic stereotype race from GW and hate GW for it. And there's another conspiracy out there of people who want the Chorfs to be and that deliberate anti-Semitic stereotype race and like it for that reason. All these people are wrong. Right? That's, I mean, for somebody to say, like... I know that says witchification. That's what Google suggested I search for when I had a look for watchification. That's the only result. I mean, I don't think they are. Like, they don't, like... I mean, the whole master race thing, that's not a very, that's not a tremendously Jewish sort of thing. I mean, so the whole Jewish thing is like of the elect, which is like, if you're in the faith, you're going to heaven, and if you're not, then you go to like somewhere else. There's no, but that's it really. But then they go to their heaven with their God, and other people can, and the Jewish people shall have no God other than let's say Jehovah, for pronunciation purposes, and that's a deeply oversimplified version of that, of the tenets of that particular faith. But like, this is what Chaos Dwarves look like, which looks somewhat different to Jews. So I don't get why, like, I just don't get it really. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't strike me as being massively anti-Semitic, to be honest. So I don't really understand that particular allegation. And GW has a problem as it is with being seen as the Nazi company. I mean, they're not though. Like they're not even seen like that. Like I don't get that. Like, I mean, what that might refer to is that there was a tournament a while ago where some bloke, I think it was in Spain, where some bloke turned up. There were two things that happened a few years ago. A couple of tournaments where somebody turned up with like a Mordian army that they painted in Nazi uniforms, and all Space Marines with like swastikas all over them or whatever. And they were allowed to play in the tournament, and I think they came quite high because lots of people refused to play them. It's like whatever. And there was another. No, it's not like whatever. Don't. It's, we'll come on back. I'll circle back. But there's another thing that happened where somebody came to an event dressed in a Nazi uniform, which the event all now. Personally, what do I think about people doing that kind of stuff with their models? I mean, if that's what you want to do with your models, I guess. Like, I'm in favour of. I'm quite centrist. I don't really have any. Like, I'd be uncomfortable playing somebody who's doing that because that shows they're a bit tapped. Really, there's something, to me, the person doing that kind of stuff and thinking that's appropriate in polite company is probably probably something a bit wrong with them, and they probably need a bit of support, let's say. But like, if you really want to do that with your models, like do it, but just don't expect anybody to be happy with it. If you bring out your Nazi toys to play, like don't expect other people to play with those toys, right? You know, I mean, the TO's not saying that that's not appropriate and you should probably leave. And next we'd love to have you back, but next time bring something that's a bit less directly offensive, please, if at all possible. Now, philosophically, if you're opposed to the swastika, you probably should be opposed to the crescent and the cross, because lots of people have died because of an ideological position taken by rulers under those particular flags as well, under those particular sigils as well. But whatever. The swastika is definitely out of bounds for the vast majority of people. It is definitely out of the bounds of polite society. But that's not GW. I mean, GW came out quite strongly and said that these people should leave the hobby. They said that, like, more or less straight away. They were pretty quick at responding to that. So, I don't see GW as being seen as the Nazi company. And, like, so like that philosophical question, could you be friends with a racist? And well, I'm friends with a lot of white people, and I am told by some people that all white people are fundamentally racist. So I guess I am. I don't know. These words get bandied around and thrown around so much at the moment. Like, I don't think, I think a lot of it is people have forgotten what they actually really mean. Anyways, it's really difficult. I don't think that GW are seen as the Nazi company. I think this is made up. Like, this is somebody who thinks the GW company are the Nazi company. Now, a lot of people have a go at the Games Workshop and call them fascistic because of their business practice, but ultimately they are a business and they will act in a way that they determine to be most profitable, right? And that's, whatever. So I don't think that's a public perception thing. That doesn't make any sense. And I just don't get how Chaos Dwarves are, like, you've seen. I just did a quick Google as to, like, why, like, what did I, Chaos Dwarves anti-Semitic. Oh, maybe we put a dash in there. I just can't find anything. No spam. Great. The Chaos Dwarves are now Jews in feminists 40k's eyes. Like, Chaos Dwarves. Oh, hold on. There's another thread. I'd argue against them hard, not because I hate GW models, but I can know problematic. Just because I was a kid, I don't. Okay. Well, we'll be using the hooked noses, the ringlet beards, the beady eyes and tall hats. This is so stupid. Like they're like evil gnomes. Like I don't see it. Like I really don't see it. Like I just, anti-Semitic poster. I mean, there's loads of this kind of stuff. I mean, this is all horrible. Sort of. I don't even want to look at it. To be honest, it makes me feel sick. Apologies, but like Chaos Dwarves is just that. Like to me, right? You can tell something's anti-Semitic because it makes you feel ill to look at it, right? Like that sort of stuff. I just put it on and I can immediately feel, like you feel like the blood draining from you and you just feel like you're about to vomit. That kind of like, really uncomfortable. Whereas like you look at Chaos Dwarves, no, it's not the same reaction. There's nothing visceral about that. They just look like evil gnomes. So like, I don't see that at all. Like, I think I've examined that in enough detail. I don't get that. The old world sold a lot of Tomb King models, but very few Bretonians I mean, it would be nice if they could spell Bretonians. If they're massively in the know, I'd imagine they'd be able to spell Bretonian. Just a bit of trivia, just a bit of light trivia. Well, let's go check that out then, shall we? And we can tell how much they've sold by how much the stuff is off sale. Because it would be nice actually if GW. Where the bloody hell? What's happened? I can't find the shop bit. Oh, for God's sakes. Where's that gone? I'm sure there was a button at the top here, wasn't there? To say shop online or something. Okay, whatever. Let's have a look at the old world. Okay, so Bretonia, half of it's out of stock, including Grail Knights, including all the metal stuff, all the stuff that they can produce on demand is out of stock. So they've produced enough plastic. The plastics haven't sold. All the on-demand stuff is selling. Like we also don't know what the original sales figures were like. I think the Bretonians went out of stock before. So again, that might be true, but I'm not sure. But very few. I mean, the words this poster uses very few Bretonians by comparison. The high up old god dinosaurs are not really happy with people like Peachy and Suggs giving insider secrets and getting people on social media to demand artist credit on paint jobs. Like, this is not a new thing. Like, more or less anybody in the community has been saying, we'd really like to know who's painted miniatures. Like, we'd really like to know who that is. Like, we'd really like to connect better with the people who produce all the artwork. Like, and like, giving insider secrets. I mean, they're not, it's not much of an insider secret to like work that. Anyway, they've not given really that much away. Let's be honest. Like, I don't know. They've told us their experience of working within the company, but like that's not really an insider secret. Like none of this is particularly surprising or oh my god, massive revelations. There's none of that. It's just like oh well, that makes sense. I could have guessed that had I thought about it for about 10 minutes. A lot of stores saw the change from games watch to the warm shops. See a shocking decline in regular attendance. I don't know. The first is ways COVID. I mean, yeah, it did happen at the same time. As many things were by the worries with an H in that context were by the wrong people in jobs they were shit at. But there have been more store closures in the last 5 years than the 20 before it. People would rather shop online or go to a third-party store with more tables and amenities. I mean, would they? Let's have a look at Games Workshop store closures. Closings retail and Warhammer makes Games Warhammer makes Warhammer Maker. Sorry, Games Workshop shuts UK and US stores. I didn't know they'd shut any, to be honest. Shuts in response to COVID. Well, yeah, duh. Obviously they did. How the store has closed Christmas. Some mounts. The Fancy Games outfit has thrived. Investors Chronicle. Okay, this is obviously going to be quite independent. Investors Chronicle is as far as I'm aware, bipartisan. Typically bosses, blah 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 blah. Global footprint, 55% via independent retailers, which the number of which increased to Games Workshop now sells. Shares changed out 29 times consensus earnings. Yeah, it's Rowan's a difficult company to value due to a dearth of genuine peers, long-term momentum. Comments says buy. Yeah, it's a good company to buy. When did they say that? So 3 years ago. It was a good company to buy 3 years ago. Probably not now. So they've been shutting stores. Winchester closed until further notice. Warhammer sales surged for Games Workshop. Nottingham's firms 560 to close because of COVID. Closed because of COVID. Like, I don't. Warhammer stores seemingly ending playing in stores in the new year. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that at my local. Like, they've reduced the amount of space that there is to play games on in the store. They've not really increased the painting space, so they're trying to get. There's a long-held view from a few people in Games Workshop that stores are for selling products, they're not for communities to be built in. And one of the CEOs said a few years ago, it's probably left now, that we're not selling a product, we're building a community of people who buy a product, right? So they seem to have left that community thing behind, and essentially the indies are taking over building the community, but whatever. Warhammer Chester, lots of people talk about Warhammer Chester, don't know why. Yeah, I mean, so maybe the person who was driving that, you need to get your customers out of the store as quickly as possible so you can sell more stuff to the next person. Like, it makes for a very boring experience for staff because there's fewer people for them to interact with, and therefore they're a bit less engaged at work, so it's a terrible idea. And B, actually people tend to go into stores that are busy. So, or that are reasonably busy, right? Because it shows that there's something happening in there, so people go in to have a look at what's happening, right? It's retail theory. So it would be dumb for them to be doing that for that purpose. So you need people in the store to, because it's a really good visual marker that A, it's popular and you should go in, and B, that actually it's just open, right? It's open for business. Look, there's people in there doing business, so go in there and do some business. But yeah, there has been a trend towards that. So they do close stores. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't know about any of that. A lot of the leaks of screenshots and sprues are not leaks, but official intended PR. The excitement makes word of mouth. Oh, for God's sakes. I mean, does anybody really think that the leaks and the potato can footage and anything like that is anything other than deliberate? Does anybody really think that those are actual genuine leaks? Like, because if they weren't, GW just get them taken down. They've got tons of lawyers. Like, they let them out because it's, it's good PR. Like, people think that I've got this thing. But then they end up having to buy the thing anyway. Like, White Dwarf sells terribly. Does it? I don't know. And they've just been holding on for the big issue 500. It's almost been cancelled twice in the last 5 years and probably go all digital or on a hiatus in the next year. Yeah, I'm surprised they still run it, to be honest. Like paper-based magazines, it's quite expensive, really, for what it is. Try to talk to female customers about 40k. Yes, I'm talking about you, Greg from Swaddling Coat. Cut it out, everybody hates it. Demon Kulaba. What the hell's a... I don't know what that is. Give to impregnate women with space marines in a birthing womb or something. Right. Greg from Swaddling Coat. I mean, let's see if we can find... yeah, I mean... I mean, I don't know. I don't know who that's a reference to. Maybe this person knows Greg. Greg with the double G. That's an odd spelling. Normally, Greg, anyway, it doesn't really matter. So, I mean, this is a leak that's been published today. It was on x.com, which is often called Twitter because that's what it is. I don't know where. Here we are. Obviously a lie. Everyone loves hearing about that. Supposed leak, says Hashi from Hashi on Discord. Who's Hashi? Unless we own nothing posted, we play tabletop games. So Hashi is on Discord, followed by Phil Kelly. Okay. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, this is the leak that's been out today. A lot of it just doesn't make any... I mean, if this is all true, Games Workshop have gone absolutely batshit crazy. And they've just gone just mad. Because a lot of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. Like, apart from obviously Legionis Imperialis massively underperforming, because it was too expensive. Like, I had a look at it and I thought, oh, that's cool. And I looked at the price of things. I thought, oh, geez, no. Oh, no. That's really expensive. Some of the blame is placed on people expecting epic 40k again and not wanting pure Horus Heresy on a small scale. Others blame the launch window. If that's what GW are blaming for that and not the ridiculous prices, then, they need to go outside and give the head a bit of a wobble. Necromunda and Heresy, like, a lot of this just doesn't make any sense. Like, the stuff around, like, Kragnos being supposedly a centerpiece of, like, really? But they released Kragnos, like, years ago. And it was a fairly big release in I've got Kragnos. He's great. He's a load of fun. I'd love to use him for something for Beasts of... Ooh, could I use him for something... Oh my god, he'd make such a good Shaggoth, wouldn't he? Why haven't I thought of that before? I need a Shaggoth. I will use Kragnos. Brilliant. Brilliant idea. Anyway, oh no, because he's not really very dragony, is he, on the bottom? Yeah, no, he's not. He's too horsey on the bottom. That's the problem. He's not very dragony at all. Unless I get like a... I don't know. Anyway. What was it? Anyway, so we're talking about this leak. I don't think there's a lot of truth behind it. I don't know who's shared it. like I said, it doesn't really make a lot of sense from a business perspective, from an internal perspective, from a, there's not really. And the person who's linked it, that's cool. And the person who's linked it, I can't even find it again anymore, which is why I saved the picture quickly so I could talk about it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the old world stuff, and what they've said in here is underperforming against projections. Like, I don't believe that for a second, because it's constantly out of stock. Like, they wouldn't underproduce something that they expected to sell more of. I mean, mostly attributed to a lack of a big villain draw. Like, seriously, I mean, who's the big villain draw in AOS then, right? Archaon, Nagash, like I suppose there are quite a few big villains, but like they've not really. It's not like, the Emperor versus Horus. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. And even when they did the Horus Heresy, they didn't release it as being like a, an Emperor versus Horus box. They released it with essentially quite a tame collection of factions, and that worked quite well. So, whatever. I'm not really very sure about this leak. I just thought I'd share it because I thought it was interesting to talk about a lot of this stuff, especially for me, like the anti-Semitic stuff, because people throw this around really, really often. And speaking as somebody who this affects, I don't feel it, I don't see it, and I think it's something that you feel. Do you know what I mean? It's something that happens to you quite viscerally, whereas like, you can tell when it's happening, right? But it's difficult to describe. But yeah, cool. So again, thanks for listening. If you've liked the video, there's a button for that. And if you've got this far in the video, I mean, if you could consider subscribing, if you feel this video's earned your subscription, that would be good. And I'll see you again soon. Toodaloo.